Welcome to the Recovery Daily podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Miller. I'm a stroke survivor and grateful recovering alcoholic. And I'm smiling because you would totally laugh at me right now. I'm sitting in my bed. Usually I'm in my office and I'm sitting in my bed because my puppies are way too cute to wake them up right now and put them to bed. So they're in my bed snoring. So if you hear snoring, it is probably the bulldog because he's a little on the fat side. Anyway, so today I wanted to kind of go off script a little bit, literally. Usually I have a bunch of research I've done for the day, and I write my notes down in my Remarkable tablet. And the reason why is because since my stroke, I have a hard time keeping my train of thought. So I usually just use my notes as a guide, and so that I don't kind of just forget right in the middle of what I'm saying, what I'm supposed to be saying. I did not write down notes today, and that's because I wanted to talk about why I'm doing this podcast. I wanted to take a break from all of the educational masterpieces I've been putting together for you and remind myself and you why I'm doing this podcast. And the reason why is because when I first decided that I needed to walk away from my career because of my neurological vision impairment, the first thing I thought of was muscle relaxers. And that scared the shit out of me because I am an alcoholic and I need to always remember that first and foremost. It is the highest priority in my life. If I don't remember that every morning throughout the day and right before I go to bed, I'm at risk. And it's a fatal disease. And I've seen what it does to my body. And I've been reminded lately what it does to our minds as well. And so I wanted to share that just a few things that have been going on, and that is as a member of my sobriety program. And I call it my sobriety program just because I think we all know what sobriety program I'm talking about. But it just makes sense to me to not repeatedly say the name of it. So be that whatever it is, that's what I've chosen to do. But as a part of this program, I've been talking a lot lately about sobriety, and there's reasons for that because typically, if the more I'm talking about it, the more it's on my mind, either because individuals are reaching out to me in need of help, or I'm not feeling 100% spiritually fit, and I want to, you know, empty something that's in my dark place. And so lately and I apologize if whoever listens thinks I'm talking about you. I may or may not be, but I'm sharing this experience to help anyone who needs to hear it. So I, as of late, have had a lot of folks that are in the program, that are in my network of people that have been relapsing. And as I've put some years in to sobriety, every year adds more and more compassion for others into my heart and into my sobriety program. And it's it's just uh, it's just been on my mind, the fact that I talk about sobriety like it's some sort of, self-help book, or something like that. There's all that self-help stuff out there. And I'm not trying to be some sort of expert in self-help. All I'm ever doing is sharing my experience, strength, and hope, period. My experience, strength, and hope. And I don't want anyone to ever mistake what I say for thinking that I am anything other than waking up every morning with the mindset of being a newcomer, with the mindset of being, there's a man who recently passed away that was in my network, and he always said, "We only have today." And every morning I wake up and go to my 7 a.m. meeting, and every morning we say that in memory of him, "I only have today." And and yesterday, while I was working on all of my long-term disability paperwork, there's a lot of paperwork and I'm submitting things over and over, it feels like, but I'll do whatever I have to do. I was filling out my paperwork, which of course is challenging because of my head. And so I'm trying to fill out the paperwork and take breaks and stuff. And when I have a day that I'm filling out paperwork for disability insurance, that's all I can do. I take breaks, I take naps, and I fill out the paperwork. That's my day. And am reminded by my doctors and my boyfriend that this is my career right now. My disability is my career. So it's not a day lost. Um, anyway, I was filling out my paperwork and my phone rang yesterday. And it was an individual in my sobriety network who was drunk. And she was crying and she was helpless, feeling helpless and hopeless. And and I she made me nervous about the possibility of wanting to end her life. So I told her to call 911. And then I was reassured that she was not feeling suicidal, and I said that I gave her some suggestions on who she needed to get in touch with in her area, and of course her sponsor. And I found out this morning that she was suicidal and she's in the hospital now. And the one thing I know today, I was worried about it all day yesterday. And then I found out today that exactly what I feared happened. But what I know is that I can't make anyone sober. I can't make anyone get healthy or seek help. All I can do is share my experience, strength, and hope. My suggestions for this is what I did. And I think that it's a struggle for people that are in sobriety to disconnect at some point where there's nothing that you want more than for a fellow alcoholic to get sober and stay sober. But there's only so much one can do for another. It starts inside the sick person. And that's what's so cunning, baffling, and powerful about alcoholism, is that the very disease that wants you dead is the disease you have to overcome. And I also had another individual reach out to me who's a newcomer, looking for help. And my challenge is helping somebody who's not willing to do anything. Anything. Absolutely anything. Because if there's something you're not willing to do, you will be pushed up against it and you will drink again. That's just the truth. That's just what happens. That is the fatal disease of alcoholism. And it makes me sad. It makes me sad, and there's only so much I can do. All I can do is log on to this podcast every day and share my experience, strength, and hope to keep myself sober. And if I end up helping another person, then I'm fulfilling my mission, is what I have been talking about recently. So I wanted to just out loud remind myself, remind my listeners why we're here. We're here because alcoholism is a fatal disease, and I don't want to die. I had a stroke, and it made me start thinking about mind-altering drugs. And if I were to take one, I would die. I know that. I would die. Because if I took a muscle relaxer, I would drink. Because I would no longer have that me that's inside of me right now. That me, that sober me that's keeping me sober. As soon as I alter my mind in any way, I'm at risk. So that's why I'm here. And I had an amazing conversation with somebody today. Somebody who I used to see every morning in my 7 a.m. meeting, and he moved out of the area and is just flourishing where he is. And I was gifted with the opportunity to talk to him today for about an hour. And we think so much alike, because we live based on the our sobriety program and the steps. And so when we're talking to each other, we speak the same language. And we just so happen to also be very interested in the same types of career motivations and strategies and that type of mindset. And so I was really lucky to be able to talk to him because he's also a life coach. And I wanted to catch up with him, but I was also really eager to hear what his thoughts were about what I'm doing right now. Because as much as I feel spiritually fit and I feel like I'm on a daily basis reminding myself that I'm a recovering alcoholic, reminding myself that I'm a stroke survivor with neurological vision impairment. As much as I'm doing that, I don't know that I have accepted the latter part of the two. And what I've been doing is trying to figure out what I can do as a stroke survivor with neurological vision impairment and some cognitive issues as well that we're still trying to figure out. But I've been trying to figure out what can I do that doesn't hurt my head. I feel like I've been talking about that all the time. I can sew. I can, I'm figuring out, is there a way that I can write a book? So I'm trying to learn all the ins and outs of dictation using Microsoft Word and using voiceover and trying to learn how blind people live in a digital world, that is, and a lot of ways in the world around me, just because I have to close my eyes so much. And what he reminded me of today was that I hadn't yet accepted that I was a stroke survivor with neurological vision impairment. And you see, I'm repeating it over and over again because what he told me that I couldn't agree more with is that I'm still living my life with my identity as a marketing director and strategist. And I'm trying to relate that identity to the things that I want to do as a stroke survivor with neurological vision impairment. I've been doing this podcast. I've been working through these ideas about self-love, self-reflection, my mission statement, my values. I've been doing the paperwork, if you will. I've been walking through the questions I need to ask myself, how to start identifying with who I am. But I think I need to back up even further and really go through the grieving process, maybe, of just like I did grieving for the loss of my career, go through the grieving process of the loss of my identity. And I hope he forgives me for sharing this with everybody, but it's so true. I haven't accepted that. I haven't grieved the idea that I can't do the things that I used to do. I keep talking about, no, I need to focus on what I can do, not what I can't do. But maybe I need to take some time and really make a list of these things that aren't healthy for me right now and look at them in front of me and accept them. And then look at the things that I can do. And then instead of figuring out all the things I want to do right now, instead figure out who I am and then fit the things I want to do into this identity. So it was really an enlightening conversation that I had, and I'm sure over the next several days I'll talk a little bit more about that. The topic I really wanted to talk about today was emotional sobriety, and I think that all of this that I'm talking about is in line with emotional sobriety, but this is more just from my heart and unscripted, and what is going on in Rachel's mind right now. It's a scary place in there, I promise. um, and what's interesting is I'm also, I've been excited about thinking about a book and this project of a book. And I was writing, and I have like a couple chapters written. And then I decided, I need to stop and not stop writing, but I need to learn more about writing. And so I started listening to a few books, and I think I shared those. Stephen King on writing, um, the uh, Essentials of Style, I think it's called, by Strunk and White, and Bird by Bird, which I can't remember the author of that. But so I haven't gotten to Bird by Bird yet, but I also am listening to a LinkedIn course. I've already finished a couple courses, and I'm listening to one on storytelling. And this one's really good, and I'm learning about how people write a memoir. Well, it's really about writing fiction, and what I'm interested in writing is a memoir. And so I'm learning about how it works, like the protagonist, and um, figuring out what is the point and what is the internal issue and what are the obstacles and all of these things. So it's more like going to school and learning how people write stories like in school, which I love. I love school. I never want to stop learning. But it has made me, this is interesting. As I talked today to my friend about my identity and trying to build this or understand and accept this new identity of mine, at the same time, in parallel with this, I have been building the identity of a protagonist in my story. And that's fascinating to me. I need to tell my friend, I didn't realize that until tonight, that the protagonist in the story is me. And in real life, I'm talking to my friend about building my identity. I mean, it's it's wild to me. It's wild where I sit right now and looking at what I'm doing. It's almost like divine intervention, I'm telling you. I'm telling you, it's wild that I am being told to look at my identity, and yet I'm building the identity of the protagonist in my story. It's fascinating. And so I think that there's one thing that I know for sure, and that is that this podcast is keeping me happy, sober, and free. And so I'm going to keep doing that. And as we say in my sobriety program, I'm going to keep coming back, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.